I'm Michael King, and my question is, in the past several weeks, we've kind of talked about the veil, and I have more of a curiosity question regarding the veil being torn. Did anybody see it? What was their reaction? What has happened to it? Is it anything ever been recorded about it? And were sacrifices done after it was torn? Because obviously that was God's showing us that we could meet with him directly.
Quickly, the veil torn, if you remember, let's just do all this. I'll do it real quick. Another person that waited in the visitor line told me that I have not answered their question. I said, yeah, but we got about 20. And I said, they're all on my desk in a pile. So I've got to get more of these done so people don't feel that their question wasn't. If you look in Matthew 27, verse 51 is what Michael was talking about. So if you keep your finger there and go to Luke, I want to show you Luke chapter 1. Let me find it. Luke 1, come on. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Luke 1 in verse 9. Okay, Luke 1:9. Did anybody see it? Did you know that there were priests that were constantly doing stuff on the inside in the holy place? They were constantly keeping the fires burning and like Zechariah, putting the incense on. See what it says in Luke 9 or Luke 1:9? According to the custom of the priesthood, his lot fell to burn incense when he went into the temple of the Lord. There was a mandate that the fire never went out on the altar, and that the smoke was constantly rising from the incense altar as a picture of the constant prayer being offered to God. So there was an army. Actually, there were 24,000 of these priests that by course served, and they were constantly going in and out, surrounded by Levites who were giving them the wood and giving them the ash. Have you ever had heating your house? You've got to, with wood, wood stove, you've got to be emptying the ashes all the time and bringing more wood in and banging it and stacking it and opening it and putting it in. There was an unbroken trimming the lamps, oiling the lamps, incensing the altar, firing the altar, taking away the ashes, etc., etc. So this was going on constantly. So number one, did anyone see it? Probably many ones saw it, because it was the veil of the temple. If you now go to Matthew 27 and look at verse 51, the veil of the temple was 60 feet high. Now, Dave Roberts, are you here somewhere? Who else was on the building of this thing? How high is it in here? Is this 25 feet, 20 feet? Anybody guess? 35 feet high. Thank you, Les. So almost twice the height of this was the veil. So look up to that cross and add that much. The veil was 60 feet high in verse 51 there. It was 30 feet wide. And I don't know how wide this is, but 30 feet wide, 60 feet high, that veil. And it was also 6 inches thick. So if you hold your hand, they called it a hand breadth. So it was 6 inches thick, 30 by 60. And when it was put up by Herod, it took 300 men pulling ropes, lifting that thing, because it was solid, woven. It was a massive tapestry, kind of a Persian rug, only it wasn't Persian because they don't like the Jews. But you know what I mean. And so 30 by 60 by 6, 300 men pulling it up. And notice the detail of what it says. It was torn in two from top to bottom. Can you imagine the sound of the... Now, what Josephus and others from the period say is that worship went on. So they obviously repaired the thing. So number one, did anybody see it? Yeah, the priests that were on duty doing the trimming of the lampstands, the oiling of the lampstands, the incensing of the incense altar, the wooding and the ashing and everything else. While it happened, most likely, do you know why? This happened at the height of worship. This was the Passover. This was the biggest. There were 1 million plus people, and the priests were all on duty. Kind of like, Macy's parade, every policeman was going around and working in New York City. It was a big time. So they were all working, they were trimming and ashing, and the veil was torn 60 by 30 by 6. Did the sacrifices go on? You bet they went on. They went on and on and on. They were still operating right up to when Titus came into the temple area and butchered all the priests in AD 70, and this happened in AD 30.